Hello everyone, my name is Jonathan with Advent House Plans. This video is going to cover the window assembly from our full mansion kit. So what I've done is I've gathered up all of the parts from the small box that we're going to need to take care of. To get started, we'll need to do a little bit of prep work before we get into the painting, but I have my paint on hand as well. You may also want to have an X-Acto knife just in case things need to be just touched up and trimmed. So we're going to go ahead and get started on the prepping, and then we'll paint them and then get into the assembly later. Alright, to get started with the windows, the very first thing we have to do is lay out the window frames in preparation of the direction that the windows are going to open. So we'll get these out, and what you need to think about is which direction each window frame is going to open. So on each window frame, you will have a hinge side, both top and bottom. You'll see that there's a small hole drilled in the top and in the bottom of where those hinges are going to go in. When we add the window sill before we paint, that's going to define which direction the windows are going to open. So I'm going to get a shutter here as an example. Each shutter has a window handle hole, as well as some super tiny holes drilled on the ends of the other side. The hinge side, obviously, is where it's going to hinge in the frame. So if you lay that shutter down inside of the frame, you'll see which direction it will be opening. So now we'll lay out on our table here where each of these windows are going to open. So on the right hand side, at the top, on the third floor, we're going to have them all open to the right. On the left, we'll do the same thing, except they'll all open to the left. On the second level, now with the medium-sized frames, we will match that by going left, 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 and right, right, right. I include a couple of extra frames just in case. Hang on to these, paint them up right with the rest of them. Be prepared to, if you break something, have these on hand. So this is an extra. So we've got all of our side ones opening to the outside, and we'll do just the exact same thing with the large window frames, where we will lay them out right, 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 and left, left, left. Again, extra window frame. Now in the middle here, for the center section, my personal opinion is right, right, left. And we'll repeat that on the second level. Right, right, left. Let me zoom in on this so you can see how I've got these laid out here. So now looking at the frames from my side, you can see this is the hinge side, this is the hinge side, this is the hinge side. In fact, all 9 of these on this left side all have the hinge on the left. What this does then is when you place the shutter in here with the hole on the right, it will hinge open this way, which is what we want on these 9 over here. On the right hand side, it's just the opposite. You'll see the hinge here, here, and there, and match that all 9 on the right hand side. This will allow the window to open the other direction. They'll open like this. In the middle, I have right side, left side, so that this one will open this way, and these two will both open this way, and that matches on the second level. Once you have all of the window frames laid out in the order that you need them, with the rights opening to the right and the lefts opening to the left, you may choose to mark the face or the back side of each frame just to make sure you don't mess this up. And the reason is, the next step is to add the window sills. So I'm going to get out my narrow sills because I'm working with a small frame here, and the sill will glue right to the face of the window, right at the bottom, spaced evenly, and make sure that it's level here. Because when this window opens out, you don't want it to be hitting the windowsill. Some of these sills may hang out underneath the frame, and that's okay. What's important is that it's equal at the top. So what we'll do is we'll use some CA glue, the thick stuff, because there's no need for the super thin, and we'll glue every one of these windowsills of each size onto all of our window frames. That will then finally decide which way these windows are opening. If you have to change a window direction later, it might get ugly and those extra window frames and shutters may come in handy. So I'll go ahead and get some glue out here. We'll just do a little bit of a touch here. And the window frame is now complete with the window sill connected to it. This window frame, once it's fully dry, will now be ready for painting, which we'll show in the next step. Now I'll go through and I'll add this window, the window sill to each window and get these all ready to take them out and get to painting. Okay, I have all the window frames done. All the window sills are put on. Now the location of the sill, like I mentioned, defines the front of the window. So it's not essential that you keep these in perfect order. However, you may just find it easier to keep the rights on the right and the left on the left. Either way, you'll need to get them all packed up because it's time to go out and start painting. And we will show you that on the next step here. Alright, I'm out here in my garage. I'm ready to get started painting. I've got just a general plastic table with some plastic covering on it. I've done just a bit of painting around on it. I have my simple paint, nothing special. Fast dry is important. And what I've done is I've laid out where all my frames are going to be. My right hand openers and my left hand openers. On the frames, you're only painting the front. You do not need to paint the back. On the shutters, we will paint both the front and the back, so it doesn't matter how these lay out. I've also brought out my 3 extra frames. I'm going to go ahead and paint both sides of those just in case I break one either left or right side, and I'll add the sill later. So to lay these out, we'll just kind of move some of this stuff out of the way. And we're going to use the double-sided tape to hold these down. So we're going to pull some tape, a nice long string of it. We're just going to stick it right down on the plastic here. And then we're going to take our frames and simply touch them to the tape. You need to keep them just a little bit separated because we need to paint the sides of them as well. And we repeat on the next level and the next level, and you end up going through lots of this tape. So as we lay these out, you're going to make note that the sills are face up. The double-sided tape keeps them from moving. When you get to spraying, sometimes things will start to move and you definitely don't want that. That's what the tape is for. When laying out the dormer walls, you want to make sure that you paint half of them with the angle one way and half of them with the angle the other, because the outside faces of the walls are going to be seen. The insides are not going to be seen, so we only have to paint one side of these dormer walls. For the dormer extensions, you'll notice I have them placed face to face, the flat to flat. That's because both flat faces are not going to be seen. They'll be used for gluing. So all that matters is this side, all across the top and the back side. And now I'll start painting. Now let them sit for a few minutes and we'll come back and we'll hit them from the other side. Alright, we're back out here. I'm going to put another coat of paint on. Now we'll let them dry again, and many of the parts will be done. The others will flip over the shutters and give them a good painting on the other side as well. Okay, the window frames, dormer walls, the dormer extensions, and the keystones are all done. So I'm going to collect those up, and then we'll flip over the shutters and get another paint on them. Okay, now we're going to lay out new tape, roll the shutters over, and give them another paint job. Now when painting this set, you're going to want to be careful not to push these down nearly as hard. With a little bit of paint on them, they're going to be a little bit heavier and should mostly stay in place. What you do not want to do is pull that paint off the face. So we'll go ahead and put a coat of paint on these. That should do it. We'll let those dry for a bit. We'll get them all inside and we'll start the assembly. Okay, all of the window frames and shutters and window parts that we painted are all dry. They're ready to go to the next step. And that next step is to put vellum on the shutters. Make note, it doesn't matter which side you put the vellum on because you can turn the shutter either way to have it a left opening or a right opening. So we'll go ahead and just put vellum on all of them irrespective of the direction they're lying. So what I've done is I've taken two scrap parts from when I removed the structure from the blocks. I just cut down some scrap pieces and I create a little rail system to set these on. Now I'm going to zoom in here and show you what it's going to look like in preparation for adding this vellum. Okay, you'll see I have these two rails laying on my workpiece for now. We'll take these out into the garage in just a minute to do the actual spraying. Speaking of, you're going to need your Elmer's spray adhesive here. What I've done is I've laid out some of my shutters. And like I said, it doesn't matter which side is up or down. But what is important is that in between each one of these little lights in the shutter, that nothing be below it. Because what we're going to do is we're going to use this adhesive and we're going to spray it all over the top of these shutters. That will get glue on all of these faces, and then we'll take a piece of vellum that I cut down to about the size of these pieces and we're going to lay it down like this. Now the reason that it has to be, the shutters have to be on this rail is so that the vellum doesn't touch anything through each one of these holes, because then the vellum will have glue on it and you don't want that. So what we'll do is we'll go out in the garage and we'll set up a couple of these rails. We'll lay out our parts like this. We'll go ahead and spray them. We'll put the vellum down on them. We'll tighten them down like this and we'll bring them inside and let them dry. One other thing to note while preparing is you will find it's more effective to have all the edges line up clean and have them super close together. The tighter the better. Two reasons. One, you save vellum, but two, when it comes to removing the vellum from the outside edges, you'll find it's just much easier this way. So we'll go set up and we'll get some vellum applied to all of our window shutters. Okay, so I've got all my window shutters set up out here in the garage. You'll see that all of them are on these little rails to help protect the vellum when we lay them on there. I've also laid out the vellum next to each one to make sure I've got the right amount and the right spacing. What we'll do is we'll move the vellum, I'll go ahead and spray them, and we'll lay the vellum down on them. Here we go. Make note, this stuff gets everywhere. Be careful, you may want to wear gloves, eye protection. Keep everything away from it that you don't want glue on. It'll get everywhere. Once you touch them down, don't move them or you'll get glue streak marks on the front face side of the shutters. And that's all the vellum. Now we'll come back and we'll keep smoothing them just a little bit until they hold to the wood. Then we'll go ahead and take them inside and let them finish drying. There's the end result. You'll see they're glued on. We'll be real careful with them until they're finished, and then we'll get them all cut out. Alright, we just put the vellum on. We're now ready to start cutting them out. We'll slide these others kind of out of the way, and what you're going to do is you're just going to very carefully run right along the side of the shutters with a sharp enough blade and a little bit of pressure. You should be able to just slide right along here. And you get a good clean edge on the shutters. So we'll repeat that for all four sides. And now you have a block of shutters. Now we'll turn it over, and from the back, look at the edge or the seam between the two, and with just enough pressure, without trying to push clear through the shutters, just ride right along that seam. And the shutter is complete with a beautiful vellum on the front, clean vellum on the back, and that one's done. You've just got, what, 23 or so more to go? Now, depending on how close you place them together and how good you're cutting, you may find some have just a tiny little bit of an edge of vellum sticking out. To clean that up, what you're going to do is you're going to put the knife here and you're going to slide up and in slow intervals, in essence scissor cutting between the blade and the corner of the wood, and you're just going to keep pushing up until it cleans up beautifully. This one also needs help on this side. And it's beautiful. Repeat for all the rest until all of the shutters are cut out with their vellum attached. Alright, we're getting closer on the windows. All the shutters are finished with their vellum, and we're now ready to start putting the shutters inside the frames. You're going to need your gap-filling CA glue. You're going to want the little bit thicker stuff. And you're going to need your 2 small bags of hinges. There are short ones, there are long ones. The long ones go through the top, the short ones go through the bottom. So I'm going to zoom in here so you can see how this process goes together. Okay, I've got my shutter, I've got my frame, I've got some long hinges, and I've got some short hinges off to this side. What you're looking for is this super tiny hole at the top of the shutter here. That is where the longer hinge will go through after going through the frame. Now this is the moment that you have to make sure things are aligned properly. Lay your frame with the sill up, the sill at the bottom here, and the shutter sits in like this so you can see the shutter. So on the back you'll see it looks like this. No sill, no paint, and just the vellum. So we lay it down like this, set it inside, it should fit wonderfully. And the top hinge goes through this top hole. It's small, look closely, and goes through the hole on the shutter. Now this will take just a little bit of finagling, but it should slide in there very easily like that. Okay, we're going to repeat that on the back by sliding it in this tiny hole and then moving that shutter around just enough until I find the proper hole for that hinge to drop in like that. Now what you've got is a free swinging shutter inside the frame. Those two hinges should be more than sufficient to hold this thing together. Now we're going to glue the two hinges in place. So what we'll do is we'll lay it back down on its back, and we slide the two hinges out just a little bit. Right here, and then one on the top. And now with your thicker CA glue, the gap filling, you're just going to touch the base of the hinge, the head. Just that much glue, and then you're going to push it in. I'm using an X-Acto knife here, but you can use your fingernail. Just push it in so that it touches the bottom of the shutter, or the frame. That amount of glue will be sufficient to hold the nail in place. Remember, we're not gluing, we don't want the glue to go all the way through. The hinge will rotate inside the shutter and stay fixed on the frame. So now we'll turn this one around, and we'll touch the top of this one with just a tiny bit of glue as well. And using the knife or your fingernail or any tiny sharp object, push it in so that the glue touches. Now the silver head that you'll see here, you'll probably want to cover that with a drop of paint or with snow or ice or however you choose to decorate. So once we put the two glues in the ends, you'll see that it's still perfectly free swinging. This frame is now complete with the installation of the shutter. Now you're going to repeat that process with all of the other windows that you have. So I'll set this one off to the side, bring in another one. Now in this case, this is a right swinging window, and I know that because the sill is face up, the painted side is face up, so the handle has to be on the left because the hinge location is right here. So same process, we're going to take a large hinge, we're going to put it through the tiny hole up here, and to save some time, if you lift it up like this and push this in, you can very easily find the proper hole for this to go into, almost very easily. And then all you have to do is fight the bottom one to find the proper location for the hinge. So we slide it in the bottom, and then we move that shutter around just enough until we find the hole. Okay, I lay it down, pull the two hinges out just a little, touch the end with CA glue, push it in so it makes good contact with the bottom of the frame, and repeat on top. And that's it. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Alright, I have all of the window frames put together. All of them have swinging shutters now. And the next step is to get out your window handles. That's the set of little gold handles. And those are fairly simple, obviously on the front face. What we're going to do is we're going to put some glue on the very tip of the handle, and it's going to insert into that hole, and you're going to hold it for just a moment to get it to stay. We'll zoom in here and show you how that's done. Okay, I've got my assembled frame and shutter. I've got a gold window handle, and I've got my thick CA glue. Very simply, you're going to put glue on the very end of this. And then that inserts into this hole. And then you hold it for a moment. It's going to be hard to see down in there, but we're just going to hold it for a second. The goal is to have the glue push out just a tiny bit so that the bottom face of the window handle is gluing to the face of here. Plus, the little pin or tab at the tip of the window handle is down in the hole of the shutter and it should be creating a pretty good seal in there as well. Now you can see that's attached there. We'll let that dry and we repeat. Alright, I have the window handles on all of my windows now, and it's now time to go to the next step. Okay, we're getting really close to finishing up our windows, the assembly of them. The next step is to put the shutter backing on the back of these shutters to give them some definition. Right now you'll see that it's just white vellum, but what we'll do is we'll use this vellum that's included that has these pre-cut vinyl backing pieces, and we're just going to lift them out of here very carefully. Now you want to line up the clean edge needs to be the edge that's going to open out. The edge that is the hinge side is less important because it's hardly going to be seen. So what we'll do is we'll take this piece here and we'll line it up the best we can with this outside edge of the shutter. And lay it down on there. And what that gives is a really good definition on the back side without a real difficult application. So I've got this one on. You repeat with all of your window frames and get all of the vinyl on the back of the shutter. Okay, during any step of the window assembly, you can do this step. If you have chosen to get the vinyl lettering from us during the checkout process, then you'll receive something very much like this with the numbers 1 through 25 that is lined up to equally match the keystones. So what we'll do is, like a standard vinyl application, is we're going to take off the backing of this and be very careful. These are small numbers, and make sure that they come up with the clear side. Now lay your keystones out facing you very, very carefully. Overlay this on top of the keystones. Now you're probably only going to get one shot at this, so be patient, take your time, and get it set up correctly on there. So we just carefully lay it down on here, making sure that each number lines up right where we want it to be, and lower it more and more until you've got it where you want it. Go ahead and smooth from the inside out. And then you need to burnish it. You can use a plastic scraper, you can use a credit card, you can use anything you want. You can use your fingernail, but what you're going to want to do is make sure you burnish each one of these numbers very well. And the reason is that you're applying to a paint-covered wooden surface. It's not a real smooth surface, so it's going to take a little bit of effort to get them to stay where they belong. So take the time to burnish them, and then we'll pull off the transfer tape. And just like that, you've got all the numbers on your keystones right where you want them to be. Now, if you didn't purchase the vinyl numbering during checkout, there are other places you can order the numbers. You can pick up pre-cut numbers at your local craft store if you want, but it sure makes it easier to have this piece cut so that every number is right where it belongs. So now you're going to come back and you're just going to add a little more pressure to make sure that the numbers stick real well to the wood. You'll also notice that we haven't numbered 1 through 25. in the current design of the mansion style Advent house, there are only 24 windows. However, some people prefer to count the tower as one, which would make a window be two. Or some people want to count 25 windows. There are options there, so we went ahead and went 1 to 25. You can use these numbers as you want. Now, once you're done with the windows completely and you're ready to apply them to the house, that's when you'll actually pop these out of their holding positions and start gluing them to the face of the window structures. So, get the vellum on there, or you're welcome to hand draw on there. You're welcome to do whatever you'd like to get the numbers on the keystones, and then we'll apply these a little bit later on. Alright, that just about wraps it up for the windows at this point. So each window has the frame, the shutter, the vellum, the shutter backing, the door, the window handle, and of course the two hinges that are glued into place. This is a completed window, and the next step would be to get the picture on the back, and then on the upper level we start adding our dormer extensions, which will fit on the back like this. And the dormer walls will fit on right here. But we're not going to put those on at this point because we're going to wait until the structure's ready, and that will be part of final assembly. So for now, this is going to cover it for the windows. The keystones will also go on later after the windows are on the house. And the reason is because if one window fails, or if you put it in a different order, or you don't realize it, you don't want to have to rebuild these keystones. So after all the windows are on the house, we'll then come back, put a touch of glue on the back of the keystones, and set them in place, and they'll be complete. So I think that's probably going to wrap it up for the Windows video. If you have any questions, feel free to post it in the comments. You're also welcome to contact us. I hope at this point you've already purchased your full mansion kit from our website so that you can mostly follow along with this step-by-step video. I appreciate you watching this video, and I invite you to subscribe to the channel. Stay informed of the new videos that are coming up, and any updates that we also post later. So for now, thank you.